fill your days with the things that fill your soul with passion. So then the idea of getting up every day and doing it again is exciting instead of scary and draining.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Medeiros.
And I'm Colleen Hungerford. And this is We're Doing This Right, right? A podcast for the whole woman. Mind, body, soul, and business.
It's humor infused, as real as it gets, inspiring, and you'll walk away with real usable tools for life and business.
If you love what you're hearing, please share with a friend, subscribe so you'll never miss an episode, and rate and review whenever you listen.
So find your earbuds, lace up your walking shoes, or cozy up with a beverage of your choice. It's time to dig in. We're back, baby.
We're doing it. We're doing it right. Welcome, guys. This is a rare thing that happens. We're doing a double header. This is a twofer, a 2-for-1 recording session. Also, we need to introduce our guest. I forgot to introduce our guest on the last episode. If you are watching on YouTube, I have a guest on my lip. This is a cold sore season.
It's not even that bad. From
Feels
here,
really...
it doesn't look that bad, but I get that.
Yeah, it feels overwhelming, but this is the nicest gift my husband ever gave me was these beautiful sweet sores that come when I get a little bit stressed, a little bit tired, all the things. Welcome to the party, cold sore. Thank you, husband. I love you so dearly. Totally worth it.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows, in case we seem distracted, at any point, we are recording the day before Thanksgiving. All of our children are home. And
they're so needy and obsessed with us.
So obsessed with us. It's 1 minute into recording, and I'm already had a face peering through the door asking for something. And I just...
Is it the same one?
Everett.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I already said no. I don't even know what he asked. I was just like, no, get out of here. Anyway, we're just doing it because this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's jump into what we're talking about because we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording and I think we were on a roll. So tell us, Cheryl.
Okay. So this episode is brought to us from Allie in Raleigh.
I was like, who's Ollie?
Allie and Raleigh.
Allie and Raleigh.
Allie Buscemi, you say it.
Buscemi.
She was on Happier Human this morning. Shout out Sky Michaels. I love to shout him out every time I get a chance. Mm-hmm. And we went around the room, if you will, the virtual room, talking about things we were grateful for. And Allie's hilarious. And it was a very deep circle. And then Allie's like, well, I'm just going to jump in here and say that I'm grateful for me.
Yes, Snoop Dogg. I'd like to thank me.
Yeah, I'd like to thank me. And it was great.
Thank me for doing all this hard work.
Yeah, and she kind of felt like silly doing it, but I was like, no, thank you for drawing that attention because this friend of ours went out on her own this year and she launched her own team, her own business, and she has done really, really well. And
she's amazing.
She's grown and grown and grown this year, and she feels really proud of herself. And I feel really proud of her, and I know you feel really proud of her. Yeah, and she's a badass. And I think that in a room full of entrepreneurs, totally fucking okay to pat yourself on the back. In fact, this brings me to not a memory, but something I heard this week. I think Simon Sinek, whatever his name is.
Sinek.
Yeah, Sinek. He was saying...
I'm the name pronouncer on the show, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just the done is better than perfect is me. I got it close. No disrespect to any of these people, but the brain just works so fast.
Yeah.
So he was saying that, especially and I'm noticing this as I get older, the people you share your success with is smaller.
Yep.
That circle of people is smaller.
Yes. It was like often people talk about your close friends being the ones you call when you have failed or when something bad has happened wrong. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But really your closest people are the people that you'll call when you're excited, when something good happened. And I noticed that when I started to achieve financial success and I was maybe ahead of some of my peers in financial success, and that I no longer could share that excitement with the masses in the way that I could have when I was younger. And that was a hard one to learn for me because I feel excited for everybody personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not everybody. And I respect that. It is what it is. Okay, fine. So Allie being on the call today and being like, But in a room full of entrepreneurs, like, hell yeah, we all get it, girl.
Yeah.
Yes. Cheer for yourself, because we see you and we see us and we know how hard we're all working every single day. And I see that meme go around. I saw it yesterday where it's like this person looking kind of like a crazy person being like, oh, I traded that working 40 hours a week for somebody else. And then this really psychotic looking person. And it's like, to work 80 hours a week to work for myself. But like, I would make that trade every day.
Every day.
So I digress. But the point of this and what we're going to talk about is, so Allie's charting her, you know, her numbers on a chart. She shared it with our CMC group the other day. And because she was kind of feeling, I think, discouraged about something. But then she was seeing like, I keep growing. Like the chart actually is growing in volume. So I'm doing something right. But then she's like, fuck, January 1st is coming. And all those numbers go back to zero. And now I have to do it again. And so we're side texting after the meeting about this. And my comment is that shit is a construct designed by the patriarchy. Everything you've done does not go away or reset on January 1st. Like, maybe the fucking metric you're going to use to build that chart does, but no, the hard work that you've put in all year, the consistency you've put in all year, the contacts, the relationships, the networking, the community, the CRM, the fucking work you've done all year does not disappear on December 31st.
No, it compounds. I would say that it compounds. And Allie is like, so Allie and I are basically like soul sister twins. We have very similar personalities, very similar like goals. We both went out on our own at the same time, built our businesses at the same time, had the same total volume goal for the year, unbeknownst to either of us, which was like almost double of the year before. And just very, very, so we talk a lot about these kinds of things. And I think what's so interesting about this idea is, again, this is all perspective. This is all viewpoint, right? Like, yes, you start again at zero, but part of that is just part of this game that you create for yourself, right? Like if you really look at it like a game and like, okay, so last year I sold, let's just use whatever numbers. Like last year I sold 15 million. This year I want to sell 20. So, okay, what's the game? What game do I have to play in order to get to 20? But it can feel really like, I used to work at a place where we would keep statistics of our production each week. And you would work really hard and you would keep it and you would whatever. And then you'd be like, oh, I remember the first week or so I worked there. I was like, fuck. Yeah, I got to go back to zero. None of this doesn't count. Like what? But then you start to kind of get into the game of it and you create those numbers yourself, right? Like whatever you're tracking, dollars or sales or whatever it is, right? It can feel really stressful when you're a high achiever. It can feel really defeating. It can feel, I think a lot of it comes from exhaustion too. Like you've worked so hard to get to this point and then now you're got to do it again. Like that can be exhausting. That can be really, really exhausting. And I think there's a little bit of just like, how do we make it exciting? It's all viewpoint, I think. To your point of it being a construct, it's all viewpoint on, and I'm not saying like, listen, I feel the feelings, feel all the stuff. I'm not trying to say like I'm Mary Sunshine and it's totally fine. Like, don't even worry about it. Don't, whatever. I just think like we have an opportunity to choose the feelings about these numbers.
I think you said something about now doing it again. What I had this thought the other day about like, I have to keep going. Mm-hmm. Like just kind of a slightly different verbiage and words are important. I was watching, maybe it was something on social media, or it was like, there's things we have to do in our business that maybe are monotonous and maybe they're important, but they don't like really fuel our soul, but they have to happen. Maybe it's like coming up with that next thing to post on social media, or, you know, like I keep seeing all these things about like, oh, you thought you were becoming a realtor and now all of a sudden you're like a content creator. Mm-hmm. Kind of those types of things. And it's like, if that doesn't fill your soul, then the idea of keep going, keep doing that could feel really draining and exhausting. Yeah. But if it fills your soul, it's not exhausting. It's exciting. So it really is a viewpoint. And I do think that, and maybe I went off on a different tangent than what was intended, but I think that this is also an area where then we can look at who, not how. And like, if
Yep.
this,
Oh my
if there
God,
are
yes.
things in your business that are not fueling your soul, then find a way to who, not how, get rid of them, outsource them as time and money allows, and fill your days with the things that fill your soul with passion. So then the idea of getting up every day and doing it again is exciting instead of scary and draining.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's something that I'm working on for 2025. And then I have something else to say too, but like managing my finances is not something that I like doing. I don't like doing it. Sometimes it stresses me out. Sometimes it feels like it creates like a scarcity mindset for me, but it is something that has to be done in my business. And so right now I'm doing the work to set up to like hire somebody, because I've always done my own books and I hate it. Like to hire a bookkeeper, right? And as our businesses evolve, we put these things into your business to like make them more established. And so, and really working on with and paying a little bit more so that I can meet with her monthly and go over these reports and go over the books and go over this stuff, because it's not something that I want to do. And it's not something that like lights my fire every day, but it is an important part of my business because I also need to have that information to plan everything, my whole life, basically. But the other thing that I was going to say is an interesting way to look at it is it's good and it's hard sometimes, but this is a you versus you thing when you're an entrepreneur and when it's your business, like how we run our businesses. Like nobody else is really looking. There are people looking, don't get me wrong. There are lots of people looking, but those people don't super matter. That's a
That's a
Mel
them
Robbins
issue. Yeah.
let them kind of thing. But it's a you versus you thing. So like, okay, what are the goals that you're going to set for next year? Do you want to just do the same thing? That's cool. If that was where you need to be next year and you're good with that, like great. If you want to set another goal that's a little bit higher, you get to be in charge of these things. You get to be in charge of the reset. You get to be in charge of how it moves forward when we're looking at how we're setting our year up, say for 2025. And this is all about goals, right? We're talking about money, or we're talking about volume or sales or whatever it is. But I talked to a woman one time who was a realtor. She's not anymore. She now works in like a corporate part of real estate. And she was just like, yeah, I mean, I sell 12 million a year. That's all I need to do. That's what I need for my family to be comfortable. I don't really push myself to do any more than that. And that's it. And my fucking brain exploded. I was like, I don't understand that. And I had to really think about that. Like, wow, that must be really nice to feel that way. Like, I am a more always trying to do bigger, better, higher, more type of person. And that is, I don't know whether it's good or bad. Right? Like,
well, can I interject real quick and say that what she has is a set of priorities that are different than yours. And I have been there because when I was in my childbearing years and I have health issues and like it was hard. It was a lot to do that. I am a more person financially, at work. Like I always want to do the best, all the things. Yeah. In those years, bare minimum was enough for me. Financially and at work. It was like, let's pay the fucking bills and let's move on, because all I want to do is have the kids.
Yeah.
And get through this. And then as priorities have changed and shifted and the kids are out and they're becoming more self-sufficient, now I'm like, grow, bigger numbers, build the empire that also priorities that I can hand over to them one day, if that is what feeds their soul.
If they want
so it's just like, it's like a different set of priorities.
Yeah. But it's funny to hear somebody else's priorities, and it's not funny, but it's interesting. Right. And I think this is important. And I've done this in any career that I've had, but particularly in real estate. I talk to a lot of agents, and I talk to a lot of agents within my market, and I talk to a lot of agents outside of my market, because I'm trying to just I want to know, I want to learn, I want to see every avenue, because this business can be done so differently by so many different people. Like, I am just so curious about how all of this works for different people. And when she was just like, yeah, I mean, I sell 12 million. That's the money that I need to make for my family to be comfortable and X, Y, and Z. And then I get to spend time, I was like, whoa.
Right.
Like, part of me was like in awe of her. And part of me was like, what the fuck is that?
Right.
Like, and I think that's kind of when we're talking about like, man, we got to start over and build this all up again. It's because sometimes it's scary to set those big goals for yourself or those big dreams for yourself.
So the thing, like, I want to dive back into a couple things. One, when I worked for the man, when I worked for the corporation, those goals were really largely set for me each year.
Yes.
So like there was this facade where we'd have our goal planning meeting and I was the one that got to put my numbers in. But let me be very clear. Those numbers had to start at a certain level. Those numbers had to be bigger than they were last year.
Right.
And if they weren't, and if I didn't hit those, then I was on the chopping block. And that stress was far greater than like the minimum that I need to pay my bills. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like as a business owner, like I know that I need to make X amount of dollars. I mean, I actually don't know how much I need to make. I probably should. This is an exercise that maybe would be worth doing. But like,
that's
what she knows
right
is
now,
like, I need this amount of money every year to be able to like float our boat. That's important to know and work towards, but that's less stressful in my opinion than this other thing I did at corporate where it was like, this is your minimum goal. And if you're not hitting it, then you're not gonna have a job and you're not gonna have health benefits and you're gonna have any of the shit that you need and you're gonna fail and you're gonna be a failure.
Yeah.
Where like I run my own business and I know that I want big things and I'm striving for it and I'm consistently getting up every day and putting one foot in front of the other to achieve those things. And I don't find it stressful because I like to.
Yeah. I will say though, like, I think there is this part of when you're in the type of sales commission based business that we're in, right? We're strictly commission based. We only make money if we sell. And I had this conversation with David the other day, like this week is for us Thanksgiving week. And there's definitely times where I've just been kind of taking it a little bit slow this week. But there is a little bit of and I think this is also because my business is still early in the span of my career, where it feels uncomfortable to take those breaks because if I don't sell anything, I don't make any money. And so I think so much of that, and maybe that's part of this thing, and I don't know, but like maybe that comes up for Allie or comes up for us when we think about, oh shit, now we have to start over again, is like, there is a necessity level. And I think one of the problems that happens in real estate particularly, or in any kind of commission-based sales, is the inherent scarcity problem. Right?
It's like where's the next deal coming from? Where's the next deal coming from?
Where's the next deal coming from? When am I going to get my next deal? When's my next closing? And if you don't have those when you have those lined up, you feel really good. But if you don't have those lined up, it feels like panic.
I mean, my friend owns a restaurant,
hard.
And it's the same thing for her. She's like, this night's slow. When's the next busy night? You know, when are we going to be able to pay this next big bill that's coming in, that's due? You know, it's all businesses that we own. And maybe I do have a little more practice because my insurance job was commission only. So for 12 years there, I've been commission only. And then now 3 years doing this commission only. So for 15 years, my income has been solely commission based on what I sell.
Yeah.
So I have 15 years of practice. And the family I grew up in, same. My dad was commission only. And I mean, my mom was a stay-at-home mom until we were in middle school. And this has been my whole life, has been work commission only. We ride the highs and we ride the lows. And it was really uncomfortable for Alex when we combined money and he had to see how I did it.
It's uncomfortable for David. He, when I'm like, hey, I want us to go on this vacation, he's like, well, I don't know. Like, can we even do that? I don't know. And I'm just like, I mean, we can. But for him, he's like, but I don't know where like, I don't know when your next check is coming. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also a part where you're just like, well, I
I
am
gotta
going to
live.
sell another house,
Right.
right? Like,
Like,
but
this
also
isn't-
like I am, this isn't the last house that I've sold for forever, right?
Right.
Or this isn't the last closing that I'm going to have. And also work my butt off to get that every day, right? It's not like
Right.
I'm just sitting here like manifesting things coming to me and doing nothing. So,
Right.
but I think when you're used to having a salary job and you're used to that kind of fixed income, if you will, it's scary. It's really scary. And I think there are risky choices now. And I am looking at like doing this big trip for us after Christmas. And there is part of me that's like, oh, like that would be a lot, but there's more coming. You know, like it's you're
Right.
like fighting with both sides of your shoulders.
I think when you like live out loud and live the life that you want, kind of in the manifestation realm, like it's coming. There's more coming because you're living your truth. What's been hard for Alex is like, in his opinion, money goes into savings and then it stays in savings. But when you are a commission-based business, money goes into savings and then it comes out of the account on the times that are slower.
Tough.
Or credit cards. Like we use them a lot more than he's comfortable with. And that is just the nature of the business. And back to your bookkeeping conversation and how you're going to start working with one this year. And I put that off for a long time. And I think that it was because of shame a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, for
Because
sure.
as a business owner, we all have revolving credit, period.
Yeah.
End of story. That's the way it is. The highs and the lows of business, that is truly just the way it is. And I hope to one day get to a point where that's not the way it is. But for now, that's where we are. And so we just had a big like tax strategy meeting to prep for the end of the year with the tax people last week. And he was like, nah, you're going to put that on your credit card and you're going to pay it when it, you know, you can. And we were kind of talking strategies and I was like, oh, wow, that feels, I didn't feel any shame. It was just logic and this is what you do and this is how you do it. And Alex was on the call, so I got to listen to it and I felt reinforced. And it was like a really positive, good call. So on the method of who, not how, like if you were dragging your feet to get a bookkeeper because you do feel shame, know that you're number one, not alone. Shame is so huge around money. And actually we should find a money person to have on to talk about it because I think that shame is probably the number one emotion related to money.
100%. I mean, that's what part of why I didn't want somebody to do my bookkeeping is because I run a lot of stuff through my business, you know, that maybe is gray, but I'm like, I'm going to run it through my business because I can, right?
Oh, I was told I need to be running more things through.
Well, I literally do not want somebody to tell me like, don't run that through your business. Like, I'm like, I'm going to run that through my business. Okay. Like, chill out. I mean, obviously don't do anything illegal. I'm not saying don't anything illegal.
Seek professional advice on how and what. But I was shocked to hear how much I should be running through.
Yeah, I run quite a bit through my business because that's why I have a business. Like,
right.
And because of the way.
Finally got that text, Mrs. Business Owner, didn't you? Finally got that client to respond you've been waiting to hear from?
No. It was something else, but I was like, what is that? No, but I think part of it is understanding like my accountant just sent all his clients a big email that was like, here are all the things that you could do at the end of the year to reduce your taxes, right? Here, you know, one of the things was like, which this was from my tax professional. So I'm saying it to you. I am not a tax professional, but he was like, throw a networking event or throw a party meeting for your business because it's 100% deductible versus client meals or something, which are only like 40% deductible. And I was like, oh, great. Because I've got this client event at the end of the year that I'm throwing. So like that works out great. I feel less bad about spending that money. That feels great to me. Or like the idea of like buying furniture for your office or like things that but like how to do it. Like that furniture has to arrive and be installed before December 31st, right?
Right.
So just these different tax strategies. He said, book your business trips now. Put it on a credit card if it's not going to happen until next year. So I was like, oh, okay. But just
having
things
someone who's
about.
the expert on that too, to like talk all these things through with, you know, like I have some big transactions pending that won't close until next year. And we talked that through with him, and we needed the new car. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, can you write it out to the beginning of the year? Because that'd be a nice write-off for that." And I'm like, "No, we really can't, but here's my ideas for that, those write-offs." And he was like, "Totally can work with those. Yes." It was just like such a good idea to just be able to spitball and be like, this is what we're thinking. Is this stupid? Or, and like, he'll tell us yes or no. And that's great.
I just saw this. Well, now that I had been talking about this so much, I saw a reel earlier today about an accountant, and it was like how you know your accountant is working for you or working for the IRS. And it was that same thing when you bring them an idea and if they immediately say no, then they're not really working for you. Right. But if they're like, okay, well, let's see how we can make this work. Okay, so this is how this is going to work. Then they're really working for you. And I think that that's important to find somebody who can do that for you. You know, like my accountant, I sometimes, you know, like I get nervous talking to him. He's literally the nicest man in the whole world. And I could call him and he would talk to me for an hour. And I'm probably the smallest fish client he has besides my sister. My sister and I are like the tiny fish. He is like an accountant out of Los Angeles that works for like major producers. And I think he took me and my sister on as like a charity case, but I will
his
take
pro bono cases for the year.
Yeah. I mean, we still pay him, but like he doesn't charge us to call him, but he'll talk to us for hours, and anything that we need we'll call. But sometimes I get so nervous because I'm so afraid, or there is shame, or there's like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want him to know this, or I don't want, listen, this guy is going to see everything. Like they do our taxes. It's like going to your OBGYN. Like they see it all, like there's no hiding from them. Right. So I think it is just getting comfortable with those conversations, and getting comfortable with money, and getting comfortable with achieving. And I think anytime you're in business for yourself, there is risk, and there's times where you're scared, and there's times where you have to put a couple months worth of stuff on a credit card because that's how you're going to get through it, and a closing's coming, or a big sale's coming in, or whatever. Like, shit happen.
Let's talk about last year. I closed 3 deals right the week of Thanksgiving last year. 3 deals. And then I closed nothing until Easter.
Oh,
and I had so many intakes come in. I was prepping listings. There was so much, like I was working. Yeah. I had so much going on, but like everything was for the spring. And I was like, oh my God. And I had to get super creative, entrepreneur, like started some coaching of other agents, like on things that I was an expert in. That's when the Inspire Her was launched. Had to just get like very creative with like, mama needs some income. And go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, I was just going to say that's part of what I'm working. I have this cash flow coach who is then going to now be my bookkeeper. She does both. And that's something that I'm really trying to figure out is like, I had a period during the summer where I had longer escrows than usual, right? Usually my escrows are 30 days. A couple of them became 45 days or 60 days. And there was a period where I was like, I've got things pending, but I don't have anything closing. And it really stressed me out. But this idea of creating a cash flow, because we get paid in these big chunks, like allocating money for other months. It's very similar to like the envelope system, but more sophisticated, right? But like figuring out like, okay, there are times where I get big checks, but those big checks have to last me for months, But it's hard too, I think, when you come from the background that I come from where money wasn't there. Like I didn't have a lot of money growing up. And you get a big check and you're just like, oh my God, yes, I have all this money. I have this money now. And I better spend it, or I better pay something off, or I better do this before I don't have it anymore. And it's a really interesting pattern that I have recognized in myself. I would get these big checks and then I would be like, well, now I need to pay all this stuff off and I need to buy all these things because I never know when I'm going to get money again. But that was like not a rational thing to do. And then what would happen is I would just blow through and I wasn't planning for anything in the future. It's crazy.
Am I alone in this? Sometimes I will just like, well, I'm an ostrich. I know that is who I am. I like to put my head in the sand, but there will be periods of time where I just like won't look at the bank. Oh,
I'm
like, I just don't want to. I don't want to.
Oh,
That
yeah.
doesn't feel fun. That doesn't feel fun to
It
me.
just doesn't feel fun at all.
So I'll just ignore it. And Alex will be
Yeah.
like, I handle the money for us, which I don't know why. I do know why, because I know what to expect as far as what's coming in, because I am commission based. So like I can make predictions and like estimates on what we should be paying when. But I sometimes will go like 3 months without really, and I have everything automated so that, you know, at least minimum payments are being paid everywhere.
Right.
And he'll be like, how did we get here? I'm like, because I didn't feel like opening the app and looking at that for a little while because it just didn't feel good to me. And maybe I need to find a different way to like communicate that to him when I'm kind of feeling, and maybe those are depressive cycles, truly. I don't know. Or maybe it's just natural,
it's
or maybe it's just,
I think, yeah, I mean, there's definitely, and that's something that I'm working on with this cash flow coach. Shout out to Ellen Oliver, Systems by Ellen, is like really making it a part of my Monday routine. It's just to check my budgeting account. Like we use something called YNAB. It's called You Need a Budget. It's checking my YNAB on Mondays and seeing where I'm at. And I haven't started doing that yet, but I am working on it. But that is part of the goal, is to start doing a check-in on that every Monday so that I can really confront and look at like what is happening. Because there are times where it's scary and it feels scary and I don't want to look at it.
That's hilarious because I have a recurring task every Friday that says to check Rocket Money, just like to look and see where I am, and I never do it. Sorry, Susie. It's just a trash can task, but not always a trash can task, but
yeah, it's tough. And I think this idea of like all these different aspects of what goes into running your business and what goes into that performance. It's interesting as I'm thinking about it, like when we think about like starting over again each year and the progress that we're making, like we have to do that for us, right? Like, but I think sometimes we're doing it, and I think sometimes my personalities are this way, where like you want other people to see that you're achieving. You want other people to recognize that you're achieving and making those numbers and hitting those goals. And in our industry, I think that there is a lot of that. Nobody cares. No client. I don't know that any client cares when people post like, I closed $18 million this month. I don't know that who are we making those posts for?
I don't even think that's like, they don't have even a metric to measure that on.
Like no, any client is like, what does that even mean? Like,
that's for other realtors.
That's for other realtors because that's kind of how our industry is.
Right.
And sales industry is kind of like that. There's a lot of show for the other people. There's a lot of show for the other competitors. But when you really are making it a you versus you, and when you're really making it about the service that you're giving to your clients, none of that shit matters.
No, your clients care about, like, did you answer the phone? Did you do what you said you were going to do?
Yeah.
Did they feel empowered and educated and in control of the situation? That they don't care about. In fact,
your sales volume, they don't care.
They feel better when they feel like they're your only client, probably. I mean, they know that you're not only working with them, but like, and maybe it does feel good to know that like you're desired and all of that, but like they want to feel like you're it for them. Like you're in an exclusive relationship.
My realtor who sold their house in California, her name is Valerie Talbert. She's a Compass agent. I said to David, I was like, Valerie makes me feel like I'm her only client, and I know she's got a ton more because she's really successful. But she answers my texts when I text her. She answers my calls when I call her, and she comes over and helps me. Like, that's how I want my clients to feel, because that felt good to me, and I felt like I was taken care of.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that those are the metrics we need to be
measuring
ourselves on. Yeah, they'll always be the numbers and the goals, but I think those are the metrics.
Allie, I'm going to circle back for you. And I want to talk about Barbie real quick, because I just keep thinking like, and these are her words, the dashboard is a construct. It is the patriarchy. It is, we've made this up. We're the ones that clear the dashboard at the beginning of the year, like your performance dashboard. But to reiterate, the consistent connection that you have made over the last several years you've been in business does not reset at the beginning of the year. These systems that you consistently work on every transaction and in your business every single day do not reset at the beginning of the year. Your personality, people liking, knowing, and trusting you, does not reset at the beginning of the year. And to Colleen's point, those things actually, what'd you say? Compound?
They compound.
There it is. The word. Yeah. I was thinking, what's that exponential? Like they're going to grow exponentially.
They're exponential.
For
they
you.
Compound. Mm-hmm.
And like,
it's like
in a market that is down, the people that we know and that we're working with and we're doing business with and we're collaborating with and that we're learning from and leaning on, our businesses aren't down. And it's because the relationships, the connections, the systems, the living in a way where we want our clients to feel like they're our only client. Like the relationship-based model that we're all living, breathing, is going to not reset. And it's going to just grow and flourish. And Allie & Co. in Raleigh is going to crush it. The Maverick Group in Indy is crushing it. Cheryl Madero's and team in San Luis Obispo is crushing it. Susie's coaching business is crushing it. Sky is crushing it. All of us are doing, and I hate to use those very masculine and aggressive words, but like everyone's doing well. All these people I mentioned are doing well because everyone is focused every single day on getting up and doing the next right thing, living in your integrity, making people feel connected, and just being a good person.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I'll say, because I think we covered it all here, is also like when you are a high achiever and you surround yourselves by high achievers, that can feel hard too. Right. And I think there has to be a moment of reflection of like, when you're working with a group of people who are like consistently top 5%, top 2% in their area, and that's your peer group, and those are the people that are, it can feel like you're not enough. It can feel like you're not doing enough, but you have to know that like whatever you're doing is also like so much more than like than what most people are doing. Right. Like I think there's some statistic that like the average realtor sells like 2 homes a year. Yeah. Or something like that.
The statistics from NAR are really crazy about like what most agents are doing. That's insane. And business owners in general. If you are a person that's here listening to a podcast that's focused on growth and doing better, personal development, professional development, like you're ahead of all those other people who are out there just like trying to cash their next check. Yeah. You're doing better than everybody else. And then the other thing I want to say is like the same thing you're saying about being surrounded by that top 2% or whatever that is. And I know people look at you or I in this way, and we hear a lot like, how do you do it all? How do you do it all? And I really like, one of the reasons for this podcast and one of the reasons that I am so open here is because I want every one of you to know, like, we do not have it figured out. No. We are no different than you. We are
just working on it every single day.
Yeah. Putting one foot in front of the other, overcoming that next hardship, overcoming that next challenge, like just doing the next thing. And but the difference is consistently showing up. Yeah. The consistency. Yep. And I see that all the time. Like consistency is the difference. And I believe that to my core. Yep. So get rid of the shit that is interfering with your ability to be consistent because it's draining your soul. Like to come back to what we talked about in the beginning, like the things that make you feel like, oh my God, I have to do this every day for the rest of my life. Those are the things you need to fucking outsource so that you can wake up feeling excited and that you can want to do the things. So thank you for coming to our TED Talk today.
Yeah. We love you. Every week. Thanks for coming every week, people.
I know. Tell your friends.
We love you guys
grow
so
with
much.
Us.
Yeah. Grow with us. There's lots going to be happening for 2025.
Keep doing it right, kids and grown-ups.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us on this journey of laughter, life, and growth.
And remember, you're not alone on this path to success. We're right here with you every step of the way.
Please remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's conversation, we'd be thrilled if you would leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback means the world to us.
And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a good laugh and some practical insight into navigating the challenges and triumphs of our minds, body, soul, and business.
Remember, we're doing this right.